Welcome to Sometimes There's Side Eye, a podcast about two friends having real and unfiltered conversations about dogs and people. Listen as we talk about our lives with dogs, training, behavior, share some laughs, and a lot of banter. I'm Heather.
And I'm Kristi.
On this episode, we are going to talk about how we as humans exploit our relationships with animals.
Before we get started, we ask that you subscribe, rate us, and share our podcast if you are enjoying these topics. To get started, Heather, you want to start us out?
As usual, Kristi and I get involved in these large conversations. I don't know why. We always get started over Facebook Messenger and then it becomes this larger topic that we have to talk about. Except now we get to talk about them with the world on our podcast. I don't know. Do we say sorry to everyone or you're welcome? I'm not really sure. It might
Maybe
be
a little of both.
a little of both, probably. We started talking about, actually, I'm just going to read to you the comment that Kristi wrote to me so that you guys can understand what made this thing,
We're going.
where we're going. Kristi wrote, when we have a healthy respect or fear of an animal, we respect boundaries. But once we have a relationship with that animal, we so often exploit that relationship, which is pretty shitty. I agree,
Yeah.
that is pretty shitty. I also would like to say I'm guilty of this.
Absolutely. So, me too. Not absolutely you, absolutely me too. And the reason I sent that was actually because I was giving Julius a bath. And when I first got Julius, he's big. And my thought process always with a new dog is to be very cautious, but also he was very large. He's so gentle and so sweet, but I'm still very cautious with
Right.
new dogs.
He's a new
And
dog.
so I did a lot of things to make bath time easier, like licky mats and asking him if he could get into the tub and if he was ready for that. It was very like incremental steps. Now he's been with me for 7 months. We have a great relationship. I trust him, he trusts me. And he was in the bath. I gave him a lick mat, of course, but he had run out of peanut butter on the lick mat and he really wanted to get out, but he wasn't done with his bath. He still had
Yes.
soap on him. And so I was like, no, buddy, just stay. I'm sorry, just stay. You have to stay put. And then I thought, man, there's a fine line between pushing them, any animal, any person, but pushing that individual to their potential
Yeah.
versus taking advantage of a relationship that's already established. And
Yeah.
it's a really fine line. I think it's
I
a,
agree.
a finer line than we realize.
Yeah.
And as soon as I realized he was only staying in the tub because he is a good dog and he really, really wanted to please me, but he really, really wanted out. I finished up really quickly and let him out. And then we did lots of like praise and reward and treats after and all sorts of stuff to help him out. That's when I sent you that message of, man, I was right on the border of exploiting that relationship
Mm-hmm.
just because I knew I could get away with it at this point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because you know him after 7 months. Hello, plugging Kristi's foster dog, Julius, who's brilliant and
Adopt him.
amazing. Adopt him.
He's
Anyway,
amazing.
but you've known him for 7 months at this point, so you feel more comfortable with, I hate to say it, but it's exactly what we're thinking, what you can get away with, right?
Yeah.
Even though he's an animal and we're a human, and we
Mhm.
basically control every single moment of their lives, we then, on top of that, can potentially exploit the relationship too. And it's an interesting thing to talk about because I said to you, I absolutely do this. I do it differently to my different dogs. I fall back on Tiago's stable temperament, and I know that I have that. I mean, it's so terrible to say, and I don't want people to feel bad about this conversation. I just want them to like take it as food for thought when you're thinking about your individual relationships with your dogs because it is interesting to think about. So, in Tiago's situation, I know his temperament is solid and that he can handle majority of anything I dish out to him, and we're not talking about abuse here, people. We're talking about, hey, if I ask him to do something that maybe he's not totally comfortable with, that he's going to roll with it and it will all be okay. Whereas Tater is a really, really soft, sensitive guy, and he has some pretty significant fear things depending on the scenario. And so I really handle him with kid gloves in a lot of situations. And yeah, I talk shit about him, but I always remember that he doesn't have that really, really solid genetic stability behind him. And that's not to say anything's wrong with him. There's nothing wrong with him, but he's just a softer guy who has more sensitivities than Tiago does. And even when I'm thinking about the 3 Rottweilers I've owned, their sensitivity levels were different as well. You know, the way I handled Link was like you could have done anything to him. I mean, that dog was like hard as nails. His temperament, although he was reactive and had all these other issues, when it came to asking things of him, he was in no way fearful. He was way overconfident and bold and everything else. And then Cash was like my softest Rottweiler. And Tiago's like right down the middle. And it's interesting to think about how we take it for granted, you know?
Yeah.
When Kristi made that comment to me, first I thought, oh shit, this is podcast episode. But it also made me think about we really are 2 separate species. It sent me down the road of thinking about how those 2 different species, we need to like respect each other because we are different. And, you know, I say this a lot. We domesticated dogs, so we owe to them to make sure that their lives are good and they're full and they're whole as much as possible. And I really do believe that. And it just started making me think about how we see them in our lives and how we interact with them, like in modern day.
Yeah, because it's changed a lot,
Uh-huh.
even over the last 20 years.
Yes. The way
You
that
know?
our dogs live now, my dogs, you know, as an adult, the way that they live in comparison to the way that dogs lived when we were kids is completely different. And I'm not exactly convinced that in every way it's better.
Yeah. I think in a lot of ways it's a double-edged sword. We've invited dogs into our homes more to be a part of our life more. We're more focused on enrichment and we're cognizant of dogs' well-beings, their vet care, all of these things. I think about the dog I had as a kid versus how my dogs live. They have it a lot better.
Yeah.
I'm going to be honest. But also, that comes with some downsides, I think, to a
Yes.
lot of dogs. I don't think that every dog is designed to go to lunch on the patio
Yeah.
or go to the farmer's market or to go to Barktoberfest.
Yes.
I'm really lucky that my dog, she's a champ when it comes to a lot of these things, but I also know when to pull her.
Yes.
And I think if you're going to kind of experiment with that, it's okay because we all love having our dog with us.
Yeah.
Most of us love having our dog with us, but make sure that your dog is actually enjoying it. Like I know my dog loves going to Home Depot.
Mm-hmm.
She might see 1 or 2 other dogs, but it's not. I'm not intervening constantly.
Yeah.
No, please don't let your dog meet my dog. She's gone to Barktoberfest with hundreds of dogs, but I also know when she's done. And I keep a wide berth, which is difficult to do. And then it's not nearly as fun. It's not that she would be mean or aggressive. I just don't trust other people's dogs. I can't tell you how many times I've been told a dog is friendly and it is not friendly.
We're in a pressure cooker in a social situation like that.
Yeah.
So come on.
Yeah. It's a lot to handle. And I also, Lucy can sit through a lunch or a dinner on a patio, no problem. But I've decided not to take her on those adventures anymore unless it's like we're hiking and then we're going to lunch after or we're going to dinner after. And she does great in those situations. But it's not fun for her to simply come and sit quietly because that's what I expect of her. I expect her not to be smelling people's food or trying to steal my food or other people's food.
Yeah.
I'm not expecting her to greet anyone. She's literally just laying down,
God, you're such
being
a
a good dog.
bitch.
And that is a lot of work.
It is a
Like,
lot of work.
that's hard. That's
Yep.
hard work.
Yep.
That's a lot
And
to expect of a dog.
And it's interesting to think about because in our minds, us being the humans that we are, we're like, of course our dog wants to go to the patio with us. But
Yeah.
at the same time, we're asking a hell of a lot, you know?
Yeah.
Especially if the expectation is you come to the patio and you are not an absolute wild beast, you know?
Mhm.
When I take Tiago out somewhere, I kind of look at it as practice for like obedience in general. And
Yeah.
I expect pretty high level of good behavior from him. I
Yeah.
mean, I still remember he's a dog, but I don't want him jumping on people. I don't want him being crazy. I don't want him being reactive to other dogs or having big feelings about anything, really.
Yeah.
And when you think about that, it's like, holy cow, we really are asking a lot of our dogs. Even just as far as asking our dog to go on a walk and heel in a heel position beside us. We are
Yeah.
asking them to do a drill sergeant type behavior that is not natural to them in any way, shape, or form, and ignore every single thing that is hitting their senses and just to go along with us. That's like
Yeah.
asking us to go out and ignore every single thing that's visually interesting to us. It's just crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. Like to take us out at sunset
Yeah.
and say, but don't look at the sunset. Don't look at the cactus. Don't look at
Yep.
the
Mm.
wildflowers. Just look at the concrete in front of you and
Mhm.
nothing else.
Yeah, don't look at the way the colors are reflecting off the mountain. Don't look at
Yeah.
all of that stuff.
I mean, I'm
It's
still getting fresh air, so that's great,
right.
but beyond that, it's not very enriching
Yeah,
in my
it's
life
really not.
to just stare down.
No,
Yeah.
it's really not. And it is what we're asking of our dogs. And
Yeah.
I think the idea of how we lived with dogs when we were kids versus now. So my dogs, when I was a child, lived differently than Christie's growing up. And that's not, good, bad, indifferent. It was just different. My dogs were, within my house, but my mom was a groomer. Like I literally grew up in a dog saturated family. It's not shocking that I became who I am. Our dogs slept with us at night, like the whole thing.
Mhm.
But then I think about how the dogs in our neighborhood just ran with the kids and chased the bikes and did all of these natural enriching things, went and dug in the dirt and where I grew up, they rolled in the cow patties. And they did all these like super, super doggy things. And then
Yeah.
it was expected that they just came home at night and they were with the kids and whatever. And I think about how full their worlds were. And
Yeah.
we as humans just think, oh, well, we're bringing our dogs indoors and we're giving them a cushy bed and we're giving them a soft place to lay their head at night and all of this stuff. And it's like, because we just believe we are these superior beings, right? And I think we're missing the mark a little bit.
Yeah, and we've kind of equated that because we're human and we view our dogs as our children a lot of times.
Mm,
I don't think that's bad that you feel like you love your dog as like you would a child, but they're not human and so they don't have the same needs as us. So coming inside, yes, I think they love having a soft place to
most,
lay their head,
most.
being inside. Not all, but yes,
Yeah.
most. I think most do love that, but there's more to it, I
Yeah.
think.
I told Christy before I started recording that my mother in law, whom I love very much and is a wonderful woman, refers to our dogs as our children. And
Mhm.
I still, 20 years after being in a relationship with my husband, have a visceral reaction every time she says it because I do not subscribe to the fur baby culture. My dogs are my dogs. And yes, they're part of my family. But for me, they are a dog and I am a human, and our needs are different. And
Mhm.
that doesn't mean that I love my dog any less than anyone else. I freaking love my dogs, people. But they're an animal. And
Right.
I think about my relationship with them very differently than I would a human child.
Mhm.
Having said that, I do not have human children, but to me, instead of them being my children, that just means I have way more resources and time to spend on my dog. Still a dog, not a kid, but it's very interesting to me. And I think that and I'm not saying I'm some superior dog owner because I get it wrong a lot here. We started out the episode talking about how I take advantage of my dog, but I do think there's something to remembering that we are different species. Remembering that sort of establishes a different type of relationship. I don't know. Help me out here, Christy.
Yeah, I mean, I also, a lot of people will wish me a happy Mother's Day on Mother's Day
Oh,
because I have dogs.
yeah.
And I'm like, I don't think like I appreciate what people are doing
The
and I
sentiment.
love that people want to include me and want me to feel like I'm not less of a person because I don't have children. But I recognize that my dog is my dog.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think there was one point where a dog had come off leash and attacked Lucy, and I like rose up to the occasion to protect her. And I thought, oh, I bet this is what moms feel when they say that they're having a mama bear moment, because
Oh.
I definitely felt that.
Uh-huh.
I don't think of her as my kid. And I think, like you said, there's some good in remembering that your dog is your dog. And so
Yeah.
they do have different needs. Do I like to dress up my dog? I mean, I kind of do.
I
I
mean,
like to take holiday
Lucy
photos.
dressed up is pretty freaking adorable.
It's adorable.
Also,
And she,
Tiago in a St. Patty's Day mustache is something to behold.
see, yeah. And she has unicorn pajamas, people. But
But you pay her.
yes, I pay her. And if she hated it, I
Yeah.
wouldn't do it.
100%.
So I think if we're gonna, like Heather and I don't say our dogs are our fur children.
We do not.
But guess what? If you do, like we've said all along, this is kind of a non-judgmental podcast. So if that's something that you relate to, then maybe think of it. You're different species, you have different needs. So if you're gonna view it that way, view it as how different your fur child, how different fur children would have different needs, just like different human
Different children
children
have
have
different
very
needs.
different needs. Yeah, but view it from a different species altogether. I do think bringing dogs inside and viewing them as our children, like we said, it has some positive, but I think it takes away some of the dogness of dogs.
Ooh, yes.
So I can't express like how much I love seeing a dog just be a dog.
Hell yeah.
People are so disgusted that I let Lucy roll in horse poop if she
That's
sees it.
so true.
It's so, and everyone's like, that's so gross. And I'm like, I will give her a bath when she gets home because she does sleep in my bed. So I'm not going to let horse poop be smeared in my
I
bed.
mean, you're not a
But
farm animal? Okay.
no, but guess what? That's such a dog thing to do
Yes.
that I'm also not going to stop it if it's safe. If there's a place that she can be safe and roll in dog poop, or not dog poop, cow poop
Cow poop,
or horse poop.
horse poop,
Yeah, I
deer
draw the
poop.
line. I draw the line at dog poop. I don't know why that is not okay,
Isn't
but
that
everything else
interesting?
is
That's a
okay.
line for hard line for Kristi. Dog poop
Hard
versus
line.
cow poop.
Yeah, elk poop. I let her roll in any of it.
I mean, that probably comes back to like the whole domestication thing, which is a whole nother rabbit hole, but it is interesting to think about.
Yeah, I just now put that together. That's
Yeah,
where my line is.
yeah. No,
I
I
don't know
get what
why.
you're saying though. It's like I completely get where you're going because seeing my dogs be a dog is
Mhm.
absolutely one of the most joyous things that I experience in my life. It's different for Tiago than Tater because Tater, I mean, his like living his best life is freaking on a couch with like some amazing treats and whatever, wherever the food is. But even having said that, so we took a trip a couple weeks ago and we went to Pine and there was snow and we picked this particular Airbnb because you walked out the back deck and you were on national forest and it was beautiful and amazing. And yes, I did select that particular place just for my dog, Tiago in particular, of course. And then
Of
Tater gets to
course,
benefit. But I mean, he gets fringe benefits. It's fine.
he does.
But seeing them just be on 30-foot lines being dogs,
Right.
there was snow and there was mud and there was slush and there was deer poop and elk poop and oh, now my dogs don't roll in it, but there was all this stuff and they're just
You.
yeah, they're just sniffing and they're smelling and watching. I have video of Tiago sticking his whole head into the elk hoof prints and just sniffing, like, where the hell are these animals going and what are they doing? And just the dogness of it. I mean, I took so much joy in those moments. And I just sit back and I think, is it that I really do see the beauty in that other species that allows me to enjoy it that much more? I mean, they're
Yeah.
so free in those moments. They're so in their instincts, I guess. They're so
Yeah.
just, they're free. They're just free.
Mhm.
Right? And we as humans, we get so bogged down and we overanalyze and we look at every little thing. We even do it to our damn dogs. And
Mhm.
we get so bogged down by all this crap. And watching my dog just be a dog, there's
Mhm.
just so much freaking beauty in it. And I think that's where it really comes from for me, that I love that they're different. I love that they see such beauty in such simple things. Well, it's probably not simple to them, but simple to me.
Yeah.
The beauty in their ability to just live in that moment and hop through the snow and stick their head in whatever.
Mhm.
There's just so much, God, there's so much lightness in that, and joy. There's freaking
Yeah.
joy. And
Yeah.
I think that's maybe where the root of this episode came from at its core, knowing
Yeah.
us and knowing how we look at our dogs.
And a thought that just occurred to me is the reason we love dogs so much is they're not human beings.
Yes.
Like, that's why we love dogs. They are not people. They don't do the things people do. Like,
Yeah.
they're more forgiving. They're all these things that you always see all the memes and the inspirational things
Yeah.
about. And yet we're trying to make them into people.
Right.
Like, no, let's let them be dogs and
Let's
enjoy their
celebrate.
dogness. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
And listen, that's not the whole like we love dogs, we hate people. We're not that people.
No,
We actually love people. And
we do.
I myself
The
am
right people.
yeah, I'm definitely an extrovert, but I
Yes.
totally agree with you. There's such beauty in the fact that they are different. And
Mhm.
I think I would love to see that recognized, celebrated, respected more. It's probably something in regards to Tiago that I need to remember more often. And now I probably will because I'll hear Christy in my head. But
I live there rent free.
yeah, I know. I know. Pay the model. But seriously, there is something really, really beautiful of about remembering that your dog is a dog. We just need to honor and respect that. Maybe take a little lesson from it, but also just say, "Hey, my dog's an amazing species, and I'm just going to sit back and I'm going to enjoy how awesome that is
Mhm.
and love that the world is what it is today that allows us to have our dogs around us so much and
Mhm.
be so frequent and present in our lives and safer because they live differently with us now than they did back in the day, and respect the things that we gain by dogs living the way that they do in modern America, but also remember the things that they lost in us
Mhm.
living with them in modern America.
Yeah. And maybe make concessions too. Like, there are times that I need my dog to just stick with me and not
Mhm.
be sniffing all the things.
Mhm.
And there's times where I need my dog to walk with me for my exercise. And then
Mhm.
there's times maybe I should just let her have her own walk. And so
Yeah.
if you are saying, but like, what can I do? Like, I got this dog so I could go running, or so
Mm.
I had a hiking buddy, or so I could get back in shape. And if they're just sniffing for an hour and
Yeah.
we're in one spot,
You're not
then
getting your
that doesn't,
steps in, I'm gonna tell you that right now.
no. No, and I understand. It's not fun to just go walk around the block by yourself. That's no fun. You'd much rather do it with your dog. So sometimes in my life, there are times where a walk is for me.
Yes.
And I'm like, okay, Luce, like this one's for me. And we're just doing this for exercise. And then once we're done with this, then we're doing just sniffs for
Because you can do
a set
both.
amount of time. Yeah.
Yes.
So we both get what we need in that
Yes.
moment.
I love that. I
I
tell my
will,
clients there's 3 different types of walks. There's I'm getting my steps in,
yes.
there's sniff walks,
Hmm.
and then there's hikes, trail walks, off leash walks. Only for Tiago because he's safe, not every dog.
Yeah. Lucy cannot be trusted off
Yeah.
leash. So
Neither can Tater. But I have 3 different types of walks, and I totally agree with you. I love the idea of merging what we need and what they need and making it about both of us, 2 separate species, and taking care of both those needs.
And can I just say, up until 2 years ago, Lucy did not get sniff walks. That was a new concept for me. I mean, she might get like 3 minutes sniffing in the grass if I felt like it was deserved. And as a younger dog, she needed a lot of structure.
Mhm.
She needed to be told what good decisions were and then shown those good decisions and not given a lot of opportunity to make bad decisions. So she did need a lot of structure in her younger years. But in the last couple of years, I've incorporated these sniff walks to just let her enjoy being a dog.
Mm,
And it's so fun, one, to watch her follow a scent through the park. And
yes.
it's almost always dog poop, unfortunately. But she does find things in the
Mhm.
park, and I see her nose working back and forth, and she goes all around and then finds it. But an interesting thing that happened when I incorporated these walks, I would also reward for check-ins because
Mhm.
Lucy's never been a dog that wants to check in. So I thought I want to reward for check-ins. So the combination has changed our relationship.
That is so true.
So about 3 years ago, I had professional photos done with Lucy, and I got there half an hour early so that she could sniff and get it all out of her system. But it just being able to just sniff was so novel to her
Mm,
that even with half an hour, that was not enough time for her to get that out of her system. And so she was very disconnected. What's this other smell? What's this? And the photographer was amazing and got some great shots. It was a lot more work to get that connection
yes.
between the two of us that I know we have, but it wasn't always obvious.
Right.
I had professional photos done again just a couple weeks ago. Almost all the pictures were looking at each other. She's walking ahead
Literally
and looking back.
like, yeah, so gorgeous.
Saw that and I like wanted to cry because
Yeah.
our relationship has changed because it's not so novel for her to be able to be a dog and sniff. It was just so fun to see that relationship change though.
Yes.
When embracing just letting her be a dog has
Actually,
changed that so much.
I would love to I think we should share the photo from 3 years ago and a photo from your most recent photo shoot on our
Okay.
Instagram
Yeah.
for people to see because it is incredible to see the difference. And I do believe that a huge piece of that is you just celebrating Lucy being a dog. And you've always been an amazing dog owner. You've always been incredible. You've always done everything she needed, but it was like this extra little step up. And I do credit you and I in our podcast training journey and all of the things that happened during pandemic and us being stuck indoors and this adventure we went on together because
Mhm.
my relationship with Tiago has changed leaps and bounds for the
Yeah.
exact same reasons. And a huge piece of that is celebrating his dogness and allowing
Mhm.
him to go and just venture out and be on a 30-foot line and take decompression walks. Shout out Sarah Stremming.
Unreal.
Like that one simple thing has
Mhm.
changed the way I live with my dog in so many ways. And
Mhm.
that the root of that is celebrating their dogness.
Yeah. And I've been started incorporating that in with Julius as
Yep.
well. Like when he came to me, he was very confused by being allowed to sniff on his
Mhm.
walk. And then he'd watch Lucy and he'd be like, okay, I think we're allowed to be dogs on this
Mhm.
walk. I don't
Mhm.
understand. And he's able to recover from things a lot faster. So, like,
Yes.
he does still have some leash reactivity. So, if he sees another dog, he's now able to look at it, be a little concerned, go back to sniffing, and then you see, okay, I'm just gonna sniff. I'm gonna be a dog and I got this handled. Yeah, there's some joy in letting them figure that out too.
Yeah. To round this whole thing up,
Yes.
I guess we want people to think about the fact that we are two different species. What does that mean for the dogs in your life? And how can you celebrate the beauty of their dogness? What else?
Yeah, while still enjoying your own human needs.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Celebrating the differences between the species and finding out
Yeah,
ways to enjoy each other while still meeting both needs.
absolutely.
How's
Yes.
that?
I like it.
I like it.
Go enjoy your dog.
Go enjoy your dog. So, if you like this episode, don't forget to rate us, to subscribe, to go ahead and share us with your friends. We are now on Instagram. Where are we at, Kristi?
We are at sometimes there's side eye on Instagram.
Perfect. So give us a follow over there as well. We're going to be getting more content shared on there as time goes on. And we are dropping new episodes every other Thursday. Thanks for spending your time with us.
Bye.